And we're live again. Can anybody hear us now?
Check, 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 check. Can anybody hear us? All right. Can you test it real quick? I'm getting lots of messages on here. Getting a lot of text messages.
Yeah,
here.
we have sound this time.
Oh yeah, it does show that we have sound. Good.
Hey. All right. Excellent.
So that yes. All right.
Fifth time is the charm, apparently.
Well, why don't you go for it then? Here we have CC Snyder. CC is head of our marketing and operations. And behind the camera here, we have Kurt Pearson, head of sales. And we've put together quite a good team here. So
we got sorry for all the technical difficulties. Hopefully this works out a little better in the future, but now we figured out what we're doing. So we got a weekly YouTube show planned here where we're going to be interviewing the CEO of Academy Games, Uwe, and we're going to be talking about, initially in the first few weeks, we're going to be talking game creation all the way from the concept phase all the way to publication. So if you've got any questions that you've been dying to ask, feel free to comment in the comment section of the video, and then maybe we'll get to it over the course of the video.
And also help us post this and share, because we've done this a few times.
That is
I
coming
can be
from
a voice off.
Oh, you're the voice off camera. Okay.
We're not gonna do this every time I talk. You're gonna give everyone motion sickness.
I want to get one of those robotic cameras. We need a little hover.
A drone?
A little drone.
We do need a drone.
Forget this camera on the screen here.
We're better than that.
Yes, we're better than that.
Okay, so game concept, game publishing. Talk to me about what are you looking for in the next game that you're going to publish?
Well, we don't really look for anything. When we're open to any type of game that we want to open and publish. In the past, we've done mainly historical board games, and we're only gotten to the historical military because when we started in this industry 9 years ago, it was the most open, easiest, low barrier entry point for us. Our original concept with Academy Games was to come out with school teaching games. I had a game designed for electricity, which we may still be doing. Gunta had a beautiful one on molecules and fluorocarbons and everything. But the school industry was so fragmented that was very difficult to get into it. So that's why we went into the historical military first. We started doing our Conflict of Heroes, and from Conflict of Heroes became a big hit, not only with gamers, but also military assets, etc. And from then we went into Freedom Underground Railroad, Birth of America series. So that was our main impetus to get into the industry, create games that were better than other games, because at the time war games had little half-inch counter chits, paper mats that were line drawn, while the Eurogame market was beautiful graphics, big components. So that's why we went into that area. So when you ask what kind of games are we looking for, when we play games, I'm a Eurogamer. I love Pathfinder. I love playing games like Dos Rios, which is one of my favorite games out there. A lot of people don't know Dos Rios. Puerto Rico. The classic Euro games is what we love playing. So we are very open to almost any type of game. And that's why we now started Apollo Games, our subdivision, which will be in the fantasy, sci-fi realms. And so when people ask us, what are we looking for? We are looking for a good game engine. We're looking for a game that is fun to play, that has unique characteristics, that plays quickly and has full involvement of all players.
Okay, so what's more important, the theme of the game or the mechanics?
Mechanics, 100%. The game engine is everything. The theme is just a blanket that we can drape over a good game engine. So from a standpoint of subject matter or anything like that, that's irrelevant. So I was at a convention. Someone came up to me with an incredible game that was a car racing game. Not in our genre, but the engine was so unique and so neat that we're discussing with him taking that entire subject matter of the stock car racing game, getting rid of it, and using it in a totally different area. And he was very open to that. So it's very exciting. So I always tell people, don't worry about if you think the theme is good or bad. The engine has to be very solid. And we can go a little more into game engines as well.
Von Deacon makes a good point. We always spoke earlier about what makes a good game and stuff, and he made the comment of and little player downtime. And that was something that came right out of your mouth earlier.
Little player downtime is key. We want people to be interactive, taking turns every 10 to 30 seconds. And I think we're going to be talking about that in a future episode on what we call that dopamine cycle, that very important cycle and how the cycles work, decision making, things like that. So that will definitely be something we'll be talking about in the future.
Okay, so as a publisher, as opposed to a game designer yourself, what are you looking for in a pitch from another game designer who wants Academy to publish something?
The number one important thing on a game pitch is to be able in 30 seconds tell us what the game is about. And the key thing is what is the fun factor? What is that one part of the game that sells that game, that people will make them want to play it over and over again? That fun factor, that part of the game that is incredible. And we don't want to hear it has this great storyline, or it's one of the best sci-fi games out there, or no. Because that's just subjective that you're putting on. That's the fluff, the sugar. What is a game mechanic, that part of the game that makes it unique and that'll grab the people? And that's, again, a subject matter, I think, in the future that we're going to discuss, is how do you highlight that one part of the game? Because most game designers that we've spoken to, when we hit them up with that and say, what is that one part of the game that is the key part that makes people, that grabs them, that triggers that dopamine cycle? They can't tell you. They've never even thought about that. And once we go through that with them and learn how they can highlight that one part of the game, their entire brain thought pattern on their design takes a shift, and they come back in the next week or two with such expansion on their game design evolution that it's incredible, that they then concentrate on that one fun factor, and all that other fluff and drivel they get rid of. And that's another topic we're going to be talking about in the future, that horizontal upper and lower boundary level that hems in your gameplay, that concentrates on the fun factor, and everything else gets cut out. So again, a lot of things over the coming weeks to discuss, but the number one thing we look for, is it fun to play?
Okay, so how many games do you get pitched in a year, if you had to guess?
In a year, we probably get pitched on average 100 to 150 games. We get a game pitch or prototypes coming in probably 2 a week on average. And that does not then take into account the Kurt's now doing some refinements.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, is that good now?
Yeah, we're good.
All
Keep
right.
going. No, it's easier.
It's a little low, and
No, you're good.
there we go. Oh my goodness. I should have probably
Showered?
showered. Oh, did you get those new smell sensor cameras now? Oh my goodness.
They can't pick all of that.
Smell-o-vision.
So yeah, so if you're getting a couple a week, how many of those are worthwhile, or are ever going to make it anywhere?
And number one, when people want to pitch us a game, we always ask, first send us a PDF, and not just the rules. And sending us a Word document, if you're going to send us a Word document, it better be good. short, to the point, highlighting what makes that game fun and unique. I don't want to have 8 pages of you wrote the rules. It has to be a pitch. It has to be something that'll grab me right away. It has to be the back cover of this book. It has to be that 20-second video on this movie happening. So if you take a movie commercial,
movie trailer,
a movie trailer, they're not telling you the whole story. They're hitting the highlights. A lot of the movies give you all the best highlights of the movie in 30 seconds, and the other hour, 19 minutes and 30 seconds are pretty bad. But give us the highlights. That's the key part. Once we review that, then we say, okay, that looks interesting. Let's look at the rules, and then we need a prototype. And those are the key steps. Once we play it then, and we'll weed out 2 in 100, 1 in 50. We'll go to that next stage and say, okay, let's read the rules. And then out of that, maybe 1 in 100 to 1 in 150, we'll say, we need a prototype. Because there's so many games out there. And unfortunately, every gamer is an aspiring designer. And the problem is there's so many good games being pitched to us and the other publishers that a game that would have been popular maybe 10 years ago and would have been successful won't scratch the market nowadays, because there's so many good designs, so many ideas coming in, so many game designs hitting the market, that you really have to be above average.
I got one question here from Big Bangs 007. He goes, I find that most Academy games are in similar sized boxes. Would you be interested in publishing something that is larger or smaller?
Yes, as a matter of fact, our Agents of Mayhem is going to be a much larger box. The reason we try to keep the same boxes is so that from a shipping standpoint, we can standardize our boxes in the shipping room. Our boxes are really quite unique in that just the way the lids fold in, when they fold in one side, it'll take our Birth of America boxes. When they're all out, they take our Conflict of Heroes. And when both are folded in, they do our Fief and Mare Nostrum. But no, we're not stuck with the game size. The main important factor is, will it fit the game components that we need? And now that we're working more with game trays and going that direction, we are making some adjustments to our box sizes, but we are trying to keep as much continuity as possible, just from the standpoint of being efficient. And literally, half of being a successful publishing company is coming out with very good games. Now, let me take that back. 30% of being a successful publisher is coming out with very good games, and 70% is running the business behind these good games to be efficient, event-oriented, project-oriented, and sound money finances. So from that standpoint, that's why we try to keep the games all the same size. So that from a printer's standpoint, it's easy for them. Right now, we have 4 games being reprinted. And we're very lucky that our games from our publisher, our designers, we reprint almost every game every year. And these are games that are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Even our Awakening the Bear, our first game, an $90 war game, where you're lucky if you sell 500 in the lifetime, we're still selling 300 to 400 a month. And every game is that way. So we're very lucky to have very long tails. But that's mainly because we also have a very good background in how we develop games, which I think will be, again, a topic in the future.
So you're not looking for one and done kind of games.
No.
From other designers even.
We're very open. We're very, very open. As a matter of fact, 3 of the games that we have announced are so outside of anything we've ever done that people will be very surprised. But it's our passion, what we like to play. We play Pathfinder. We're Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons fanatics. We play role-playing games. You're a big role-playing gamer. Kurt's a big role-playing gamer. Miniatures. I mean, I have over there my Zulu armies and my Sudanese camel armies that my wife brought in that I spent months and months painting. So we're definitely very varied in what we want, and that's why we started Apollo Games, so that we can open up now these great engines that we have, put new blankets on it, and then start coming out with new engines.
You mentioned off camera before we started that you and Kunta have like 50 ideas in the back of your brain or on paper somewhere. How do you, and you mentioned that like what's coming next, what's coming next, what's coming
Yes.
next. How do you make that determination?
We have a very good team now of designers here in the Fremont area and internationally that we work with on Skype, through our Proof HQ, and all these different means that we're going to cover in future episodes. But we're constantly talking and the synergy going back and forth. And that's where it's very important for a designer to understand that they need to come up with a good, solid game, but 99% guaranteed the game they show to a publisher will have some pretty significant adjustments made during the process of finalizing it and getting it ready for production. Because when a designer is working by themselves on a game and using their own intuition and genius of making something new, getting other people who've done this also, in the synergy and the back and forth discussions open up realms of new ideas that will make that incredibly good game even better.
So how important is that dynamic when dealing with a game designer?
I think that's very, very important. That's one of the key things we look. When someone comes to us with a very good game, we're looking for the engine. As I said, the theme, the topic is just a blanket we're putting over an engine. So for example, our Agents of Mayhem, which is based on the Saints Row video game series in the same universe, is based on our Fallujah Marine Corps urban tactical training game. So here we have an urban tactical training game that we took the basis of and put a new blanket over it and made it this really cool sci-fi out there with all these incredible non-realistic people, weapons jumping across buildings, bringing down lightning bolts, but it's still a solid engine that we then transformed. And when we pitched it to Volition, they loved it and jumped on it right away. So again, the engine's important. Then the second thing that's very important is that the designer, we've had some incredible games where the designer says, this is it, this is my vision, this is my baby, I've worked on it for 15 years, it's not changing. Well, unfortunately, that type of person, just in that attitude, already instantly tells us they're not open to new ideas. Because there's so many incredible games coming out with new mechanics and way of doing things that you always have to be open that your baby can take in even things you see from outside sources. But then when you work with a team and you get some very good synergy going, that you're open saying, I want to make this better. I'm open to making it better. So the second big thing when we look at a game is the designer. How easy is a designer to work with? How well, number one, can they take criticism? Number two, how open are they to looking at the design and ideas coming in from our design team, taking it and implementing them in a good, constructive way?
Where do you run across these designers?
They come out of the blue. They come out of the blue. We were at a Protospiel with our very successful series, like our Birth of America series. I met Jeff Stahl at a Protospiel convention. I believe it was in Michigan or somewhere. And he was pitching a game. There were other publishers there. The other publisher said, nah, not worth it. I really liked it, but I really liked Jeff. And just the way he was talking when we spoke and the potential we saw in the system and how open they were, saying, yeah, that's a great idea. We can work on that. Right away, we jumped on it. We signed it right away. And 1812 then developed into the 1775, which took it into whole new areas. And the 1754, then our Vikings game. And now the sci-fi space game coming out in that series. The designers are probably more important than the game itself. Because I say, games are dime a dozen out there now. They're dime a dozen. It's getting with good designers that we want to work long-term with, because we only look for long-term. If we like a game, we want to make that game into a series.
Is there just for any potential game designers out there, is there a bad time or place to make a pitch?
Probably one of the worst is we're at a convention, we're busy, and they say, hey, I've got this game. Can I show this to you?
Gen Con?
Yeah, don't come to us in the middle of Gen Con when we're sitting there busy. We have meetings everywhere. Even afterwards, we try to sit down and be very accommodating. But after getting up at 7 o'clock, getting ready for the show, all day talking, then having to do the reconciliation with the money, we run 130 events and tournaments at Gen Con and Origins both. We have over 25 people, no, even more, 28, 29 this year, working there, getting all that organized. At the end of the day, we're so dead tired. We want to go out, eat some good food, have a few good drinks of apple cider or root beer, of course, and relax and not get into the stress of having to review a game, because we don't just play a game and fluff. When we do it and we put the time in, we really concentrate and see, is this game any good? Is it something that our company would be interested in? And then think of if there's some mechanics that just don't flow right, try to come up with some solutions to give the designer some really constructive input.
What concepts are out there in the gaming world right now that you love that we aren't necessarily doing here?
Yes.
That we're not doing here, concept-wise. If it's something we really like, we're stealing it. No, that's the wrong word.
Wrong word.
We're incorporating it. It's not stealing, because there's nothing new out there.
Assimilating.
I mean, because everything in the gaming industry really comes down to paper, rock, scissors, dice, things like that. But where the really big changes have come in the gaming industry, from the Euro Ameritrash to this Euro gaming, is originally a lot of the games were roll a die, go so many spots, and then you have an A or B decision. Now it's, what do you want to do? Critical thinking, negotiations, talking with other people, making deals, knowing when to break a deal. How am I going to use you to help me get ahead in winning the game, which is also going to help you win the game until I cut you off. Some of the incredible mechanics used by like Eclipse or Scythe, where it used to be where you had to track stuff and think of stuff. Now you, let's say, take over a planet, you pick up the components from the board, put it on the planet, and the space that's now cleared gives you another option or capability. So there are no exemption rules. There's no tracking, no keeping data on the side. It's very clear and quick to see and instantly recognize. So those are ideas that we're taking from something like Scythe and all that we're incorporating now into our Gettysburg game. So that instantly you can see that if this leader is gone, that all of a sudden that opens up, takes away from, let's say, the quick reaction capability of a brigade in a Civil War game or in a space game. Having all of a sudden the Mars, the asteroid belts around Mars, you're starting to mine. How's that then all of a sudden going to help you in, let's say, Earth or Jupiter even, with their gas capabilities to help your side come out ahead? So there's so many good ideas out there that we're trying to incorporate, and then that we also work with designers to make their games streamlined, fast, fun, and always participation, that there's never downtime.
Sound Review says, and don't forget, now you can play a game that has you putting a plastic retainer in your mouth. That Speak Out game, remember?
Oh, that's right.
That ridiculous.
Yes.
That is a new game mechanic.
If you're a fan of drool,
You know what? That's probably. I'm not going to put it down. We may use it one of these days.
oh yeah, we
may
put that
use it.
into one of the birth of series somehow, right?
We got to do it somehow. Maybe one of those aliens. But then what you put in, it's got to flick out in and out.
It's the only way you
got
can
to make
negotiate.
it
You have to put it in first, and then you can negotiate.
After the Vikings have had too much to drink.
Oh,
You never know what's in there.
There you go.
That's so good.
So, of all the games you've gone through and produced, have you ever gone down the path and then had to pull the plug?
I feel like on American Idol here, where they always have the coat. I should go like this.
So good.
Just don't show Simon level chest hair.
Available for $4.95 from Academy Games. So, what was that? You know what? We're not doing our Knob Creek commercials anymore. So Knob Creek wouldn't sponsor Academy Games. So,
What?
Yeah, forget them. Right?
Yeah,
Forget them.
Yeah, don't even bring them up anymore.
Too bad, because it's really good.
I know it is
Yeah.
very good. What was the question again?
Have you ever started developing a game and then had to pull the plug?
Also, past the concept stage into development.
Yes.
Where you get past there and
Really?
Yes. Not that often, because once we really start developing with a designer, we really work on it. And with most designers, it takes 2 to 3 years. We're not one of these companies who throws out 20 games a year.
so you're talking from start to print.
Start to print,
3
it
years?
takes 2 to 3 years often. Now, some games, they're done. They're so clean. It's just a few little tweaks here and there. Boom, we're going. But many games, like Freedom Underground Railroad by Brian Mayer, phenomenal game. But the little things, the game itself was very sound, but just the way the slave catchers worked, how we presented the game, because it's such a sensitive topic, bringing in many different ideas through the play testing, not only from the gamer community, but also from the teaching community, from the Black community, from the civics community. There was so much that we had to look into. But even other games, we take the time. We don't want to come out with 20 games, throw them against the wall, see which 2 stick. And those are the ones we're really going to concentrate on. We want to make every game that we come out with a hit, a game of the year, whatever. We're going to put the time and effort in. Now, a lot of people get on our case and say, you promised this game 2 years ago. You're screwing us over by not printing it. No, we lose. The longer we delay a game, we're not making money. It hurts us. It hurts. But for us, and a saying that I love to say is, you put out a bad game, it sucks over and over and over again. You come out and publish a game late, that only happens once. So I'd rather publish late and have a good, solid game than come out too early and have it flop and go, well, we better come out with another game real quick. And that's, a very interesting thing, that in this market now, they're just throwing out game after game after game. And that's been, a lot of people say that's the strategy nowadays. You as a publishing company have to come out with a new game every 2 to 3 months, every month or 2 even, because the game will be popular for 2 or 3 weeks. It'll hit and then it'll die right away. You better come out with a new one. And that's what we don't want. And we don't want that for a designer either. We want their game to sell year after year after year.
Because if it's any good, it should be popular for a long period of time.
Exactly. And I don't want that we then just concentrate on the next one. If you've put your heart and mind into a game and your lifeblood, and we're going to spend our resources and effort and time and $60,000, $70,000 in development costs and die printing everything, we want it to be a hit.
Von Degen also agrees that he hates erratas. Yay, Uwe.
What's he hate?
He hates erratas. So when you put a game out too early and then you find rules mistakes and you have to put the FAQs online and stuff of that nature.
You know what? Even after working 2 or 3 years, and many people know we're very unique. We put our games out on Proof HQ. We have fans, 20, 30 fans who are very good. I mean, half of these guys are professional editors.
Professors.
And they're going through, through Proof HQ, they're going through every part of the rules, making suggestion changes. And we put the next version up. We usually have 10 to 12 versions of the rules going through Proof HQ before we feel they're good and we put them out. And even then, we'll have a mistake. And it's like, how did we miss this? But that's the difference between only having 20, 30 people looking at it and 8 to 10,000 people reading the rules. But you're right. It irks me how bad the rules are in many games. And it irks me how bad some games are. That people actually publish it, but they're falling into this bad hole that they just have to put out a game every month. Because you know what? They'll sell the game. If it's bad, well, they'll come out with a new one next month. And guess what? Yeah, probably those people buy it anyway. That only works so long. And after a while, they won't support your games anymore. And then you get companies like Jamie Stegmaier or some of the cool minis and others. They're Stronghold Games. They have some very good games coming out, game after game after game.
Sam Reviews also says, perfect segue. What's next in the Birth of America line?
We have quite a few really good games in Birth of America.
Don't give away the store here.
I'm not going to give away the store. But the next one that we're really working on is the first one we're going to be doing under Apollo Games, and that's a Birth of Soul. Very cool sci-fi, and it's going to be from the sun to the asteroid belts around Mars, and all the planets are moving within the board. 95% again, same system as 1775, Vikings, etc. But that 5% shift will make it a totally new, different game. And this game is going to be concentrating that you're going to have whole lines of developing technologies, making your either going cyborg routes or going the technology routes, development routes. Again, very quick, fast-playing game, hour and a half max, but it's going to be an epic space game.
That actually brings me up to a previous question. He's wondering, is there a best average playing time in a game that you develop here?
It depends on the game.
That's right.
I'm a real fan of Through the Ages. Through the Ages is probably my wife and mine favorite game. That and Twilight Struggle. 2 games that last anywhere from 2.5 hours to 5 hours. So we love those games. We set it up and we'll play it over a weekend. Play for a few hours, come back. So, and those are some of the top selling games of all time. But then we try to keep our games hour and a half max for the average game. And if we have a longer game, like our very popular, our Fog of War series, our Soviet-Polish War of 1920, not the best topic in the world, but me as a historian felt it was one of the most important wars of the 20th century. By the game, you'll see why. But it is... There where the huge campaign can last 5 hours, we make sure that there are 3 or 4 scenarios that play anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get any other questions in there?
We have no. I think we're good with questions. To go back to Sam Review. Yes, there are more things coming for Birth of America series. We're just not talking about them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That was going to be my other question. Without giving away, pulling the curtain back too far to see the wizard. About how many things do we have in development?
Well, we posted a picture the other day on Facebook of us playtesting incredible Civil War, Grand Campaign Civil War. We have Libertadores, which we've been working on several years, on the fall of Spain in South America and in the Americas. We have the Crusaders game. We have some other very cool games.
Kayla Eickert wants you to sing.
Wants to sing, huh?
We'll have to work up a tag for next time.
Yeah. Sing me a song, a little barbershop song. Anyway, here come my barbershop days. As a matter of fact, many of you don't know, I sang barbershop for many years, and CC is one of the best barbershop, not only choir directors, but also incredible lead in his own barbershop quartet. So we do have a lot of people who We can't sing Beyonce very well, but put us in a group of other people and we can sound quite passable.
But we want Beyonce. Von Deegan says, when whales fight, ... When?
It is totally done. Why we delayed When Whales Fight? Because of the political situations going on. I guess this is live. We've never announced this.
Oh.
And we're in the play testing right now. I wanted to add a current day scenario. So we're adding a whole new, it's going to be an expansion that people pre-order are going to get for free. And it includes modern day. You got the Trump card, you've got the Kim card, you've got everything else. And what's so interesting is that what happened in 1950 and is what happening now is almost identical, except the players have changed and some of the capabilities have changed. But everything else, When Whales Fight, which is Korean War of 1950, is so incredible. It just, we learned so much from Strike of the Eagle. We've made so many progressions on it that people are going to be, I think, very surprised. I love history. I've read big books on the Korean War, and just playing this first 45 minutes, I learned more of why we did what we did than reading a huge book. Now, putting the modern, that you can play also the modern version, that's what's holding us off. But I just wanted, I felt it was very important because of what's happening today. And I don't think we're coming up to a quick solution, because China does not want North Korea and South Korea unionized. They need that buffer zone. They don't want an American ally right up on their border.
It'll be worth a delay.
It's hopefully it's going to be a good delay. Again, we want something that people go, wow, this is incredible, instead of, we got to get another game out just to get in quick money now.
Better to put out the right game than a fast game.
That's right.
Yep.
Sound Reviews also says, anything debuting for sale this year at Origins or Gen Con?
Yeah, well, Storm to Steel. I'm working like crazy getting that out. Some very cool. And again, here's a game that I designed. Between the first and second edition was quite a radical difference. I was at Quantico a few months ago working with Marine Corps, and their big thing was for training young officers. They were different than the Army, where the Army was giving 7 action points to a unit, which shows how a leader has to concentrate and then jump between different factors. Marine Corps was more, we want our young officers to get a good, sound, tactical basis of how to set down suppression fire, bring in mortars and all that. So we've totally, I hate to say it, we got rid of, you no longer track action points.
Oh.
Totally all gone. Totally streamlined the game, got rid of 40% of the rules in the first section, made it fast, incredible. Then we added a whole new command support section, which we decided not to do. We're going to add it as an add-on later on, because again, we want this game to be streamlined and concentrate on the fun factor. So we took a lot of input from other people, talking with Marine Corps, Army, and our gamers, and we're making that change. It has to be done because the military convention, war playing convention is coming up this summer, and it has to be done by then.
Mm-hmm.
So
no choice.
No choice.
Well, there we go. There's your announcement, and that's probably a good place to stop. So thank you all for watching. Make sure you click the subscribe button, hit the little bell right next to the subscribe button. That'll send you a notification when we publish another thing or when we get another video uploaded. We've got a whole bunch of new content lined up. We've got a bunch of different shows set for production here in the coming months. So you're going to see a lot more from us.
And also, it's going to be not always at the desk, but also in front of the big board.
Right, we've got whiteboard stuff. We've got some live playthroughs planned from some old games. We're going to have the Eickerts teach me, the new guy, how to play some of the Academy games, so I'm not such a noob, and some other stuff that we're going to get doing.
Also, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting in some prototypes, and we're going to get the okay from the designers. But we're going to bring prototypes in the way they're sent in, and we're going to tear them apart right then and there, and breaking apart and building them up to see what the designs were, what the positives and negatives are, and the interface with the viewers are going to be great, because we're going to go over the design, take your input, our input, and see how we can make it better. And this is one of the key components for designers. So I think nobody's really done that before, and I think that'll be a very interesting, even for non-designers, to see what we look for in a game design.
All right, folks. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Bye, guys.